Human error remains one of the leading causes of cybersecurity incidents worldwide. In many cases, organizations have the right security tools in place, but security wasn't considered early enough in the development process. That's why the old approach of security as a final check before go live no longer works. Today, security needs to be built in from the very beginning, from design and development all the way to deployment and operations. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the episode 4, SAP BTP Security Overview and Best Practices for Secure Development. I'm delighted to welcome our speaker, Jürgen, who will share his expertise and best practices for secure development on SAP BTP. Joining him is Boris Zaske, who will moderate today's Q&A session to help bring your questions into the discussion. Jürgen is Product Manager for Security at SAP in Waldorf, Germany. He is responsible for the roll-in and roll-out of product information referring to security in SAP products. And now let's dive in. Jürgen, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Tina, for the nice introduction. Welcome everyone to today's webinar on BTP security. I'm glad you're joining us, Boris, Tania, and myself. And my name is Jürgen Adolf, as Tania already mentioned. And today I'll walk you through the comprehensive overview of security on SAP BTP from the platform architecture all the way through the full development lifecycle, like how we do it at SAP and how we promote it for you to do it yourself when you develop your own applications on top of BTP. This session is designed for developers, architects, and anyone who builds or operates applications on SAP BTP and wants to understand how to embed security from day one and not to build it in at the end when the error is already there. So we have 45 minutes together around, and I leave some time for questions at the end. And feel free to drop questions in the chat throughout the presentation. Boris will monitor them, and maybe we can have a look at them at the end if there's some time left. So here's what we will cover today. We'll start with the adoption framework, BTP adoption framework. That's the overarching compass that guides architects, developers, and administrators on the platform. And then we will have a look at the SAP BTP Developers Guide, which is a structured, phase-based guide for building cloud-native applications securely. And from there, we will go deep into the 5 phases of the secure development: explore, discover, design, deliver, and run and scale. That is where we will spend most of our time during this presentation. And at the end, we will close with a summary and a set of clickable links. For further reading, you can then you will get the presentation afterwards, and you can then have this links where you can get more familiar with the topics we are talking about. So let's get started. So let's begin with the SAP BTP adoption framework. That's the starting point for anyone working on the platform. So here you see it. The BTP adoption framework is a central access point for everyone building and running solutions on SAP BTP. Think of it as a compass. It doesn't just tell you what's available on the platform. It tells you how to use it correctly, securely, and efficiently. It is structured around 3 main audiences. We have the architects, the developers, and the administrators, typically at SAP and on customer side. And each persona gets specific guidance tailored to their role in the adoption framework. And for architects, there's the integration and extension architecture guidance. This will help you to design solutions that are scalable and secure by design. And for developers, there's the SAP Developers Guide, which we will cover in the next section more in detail. And for administrators, there's the SAP Administrators Guide. It covers the operational and governance aspects of running BTP securely. Across all three audiences, the framework brings together 5 key capabilities, which you can see here on the bottom. It's decision guides, reference architectures, security recommendations, DevOps principles, and methodologies. The key message here is using this framework means you're not inventing security from scratch. You're building on SAP's proven patterns, and you can reuse how we use it. You can just reuse it in your software development process. So now let's have a look more closely to the developer's guide. The tool is specifically designed for the people building the applications on BTP. It's the developer's guide. You can call it it's your guided path for building applications on BTP securely, efficiently, and in line with SAP's best practices. On the left, on this slide, you see the 4 core characteristics of the guide. It gives you a guided path, consolidates tools and services, provides step-by-step instructions for each phase, and is the first point of entry for scalable BTP app development. And on the right side, there are the key principles that underpin the guide. The principle of one means consistency across service evolutions, so you're always building on a stable, aligned foundation. And compliance by default means that best practices and cloud qualities are baked in from the start. You don't have to retrofit them later after your application is already built and then you have to change it again. But it's a guide how to, from day one, build in security so you don't have to rework. And continuous evolution means the guide always reflects the latest changes in SAP BTP. It's a living document, not a static snapshot, and you will later have the link to it. We will see it, and yeah, it's a living document, and you can always look at it. And low TCO means integration is plug and play. No heavy custom wiring is required. And this is the guide. This guide is the foundation of everything we'll cover in the phases section, in the next section. Phases of secure development. Now for the core of today's session, the 5 phases of secure development reuse. We'll go through each one and look at what security means concretely at that stage. So this slide gives you the big picture of the developer's guide structures development in 5 phases. The explore phase, the discover phase, the design phase, the deliver phase, and run and scale phase. Security is not a final step in this model. It is embedded in every single phase of it. In explore, you establish threat modeling and your secure software development lifecycle. In discover, you map security services and data flows. In design, you define identity and access management, API security, and architecture patterns. And in deliver, you automate secure deployments through the CI/CD pipeline and protect secrets, for example, with the credential store. And in run and scale, you monitor, patch, and harden continuously while your app is running. So let's now go through each phase in detail and have a look what it means for your development. So we begin with the explore phase. It's your opportunity to shape the project vision with security in mind before a single line of code is written. The first priority is defining a secure development lifecycle framework. At SAP, we have embedded security into every phase of our development lifecycle. The secure SDOL, our secure software development and operations lifecycle, is the model we use and recommend for our customers. So the link to it you will find later at the end of the presentation. And the second priority is threat modeling. SAP has made OWASP-based threat modeling mandatory across all lines of business, not only BTP, also SuccessFactors and all the others. Since 2018, every development team has to do it when they start a new project. And the 6 steps of the threat modeling are identify assets, create an architecture overview, decompose the application, identify and document threats, assess the risks, and define mitigation steps. That is the model behind the threat modeling. And with this, starting this process before coding begins means that the security concerns are architectural decisions and not fixes you have to pay for, you have to apply at the end when your application is already running. So you can fix it from the beginning in your architecture because you find these risks right at the beginning before you wrote one single line of code. And third, the plan for compliance from day one. Map the regulations that apply to your project, like GDPR or industry-specific requirements, and align them to your architecture upfront. By addressing all 3 of these in the explore phase, you avoid costly rework and ensure compliance is built in from the beginning of your development. This slide gives you now an overview of the compliance and certification landscape that SAP operates within. You can find them in the Trust Center, all the details about the certifications we have, but a short description, what kind of standards we follow. The left column covers the security standards, for example, ISO 27001, 27017, 018 for cloud information security, and ISO 22301 for business continuity, then SOC 1 and SOC 2 for financial controls and operational compliance. And then we also have the BSI C5 for cloud computing in Germany and the CSA star compliance. And in the center, you see the column in the center covers the privacy and regulations like EU GDPR, and then the new EU AI Act and BS 10012 for data protection management, the EU Cloud of Conduct, and DORA NIST for financial and network resilience. And on the right column, you see it covers the market-specific requirements we follow. So TSAX for automotive, PCI DSS for payment, car security, CRITIS and HDS for critical infrastructure, IRAP and CCSP for government, cloud security. So that's all what we cover. There are some more. You can find them in the Trust Center from SAP, but that's just an overview. And as a customer, this matters because it confirms that SAP BTP provides a certified audited infrastructure layer. And when you build on BTP, you inherit these certifications as your baseline. And then you add your own compliance controls on top. So that also makes it easier for you to be compliant by using the compliant BTP services and the platform. That's about compliance. And then we come to the discover phase. In the discover phase, you map out the building blocks for your application. So when you have done the first phase and then come to the discover phase, after you have made your architecture and everything and looked what compliance is relevant, and then you come to the discover phase, then you look what security services are already there. I can reuse from SAP, and that's where you map your building blocks to your out the building blocks of your application. From a security perspective, this means you identify which BTP security service you need and understand how they integrate into your architecture. I have here 6 important ones. There are more, but these are 6 important ones. So we have the SAP Cloud Identity Service, which covers authentication, thing sign-on, and user lifecycle management. And this is the identity backbone for all SAP BTP applications, all applications you build on BTP. But not only that, Cloud Identity Service is also the backbone for the whole SAP landscape, where you can use also success factors, Ariba. You can single sign on to all the solutions at SAP when you use cloud identity services as the central identity provider. Typically, customers have an own corporate IDP, which has a trust to the cloud identity service IDP, and then you can reuse all the users you have in there. And then we have the authorization trust management service, which handles application level authorizations and platform trust configuration. A third one is the credential store, is where you store your passwords, API keys, certificates, and key rings. And so the approach is to never store hard code credentials somewhere. You can put it in the credential stores, then they are safe, and you reuse the credential store in your application by APIs, getting then the certificates or keys, whatever, or passwords you need for your application. Yeah, this service is the right place to put all these secrets in. And then we have the audit log service, which gives you digitally signed, tamper-proofed audit logs for all security relevant events in your landscape. It's also for SAP a central audit log where all services should write into, and then you have a central place, and you can use the API to extract the audit log into your theme system when you have a theme system in place. At SAP, we also have a theme system. Maybe you use this one, the enterprise threat detection service. And yeah, and then you can import it and run scanners in there for malicious or some things you want to find. And then we have this malware scanning service. The malware scanning service lets you scan documents uploaded by end users for your application if there is malicious content in it. So you can integrate it. For example, you have some application and in this application, someone can upload a document, and then when you integrated it with the API, with the malware scanning service, the document before uploading is first sent to the to malware scanning service, and there with scanners it's scanned the documents, and then only if there are no viruses and other stuff inside, then the document is uploaded in your repository. So it's very useful. And finally, but not least, we have the connectivity service, which handles the secure on-premise connectivity with the cloud connector and the destination management to on-premise and to cloud apps, to other apps. You can have secure connections to them. And to on-premise, you use the cloud connector in connection with the connectivity service. So I strongly recommend you to get familiar with these services, the security services. These are the foundation of any BTP, the security foundation of any BTP application you can write. And you can reuse it via APIs, implement in your application which you're writing. And then you have a secure way. developing. Then let's come in the design phase. That's where you define both the user experience and the technical architecture. It is the right moment to embed security decisions directly into your design. We have 5 principles which should guide your architecture. First is defense in depth, means layering security controls independently across network, application, and data layers. If one layer fails, the others hold. Then we have the last privilege. This means using airbag and ABAG, that means role-based and attribute-based access control, to grant only the minimum permission required for each role in your application. So we have both possibilities, and then you can create your application with the right authorizations fitting for each and every user which is using your application. And then secure API design means enforcing OAuth 2.2 and OpenID Connect for authentication and encrypting all API traffic with TLS, and never expose internal services without any authentication. Ideally, you use certificate authentication or with tokens and not basic authentication. And identity first means using sub-cloud identity services for single sign-on, for provisioning of users and attributes of users, and token-based authentication across all touchpoints. And finally, the secure extensibility means isolating custom logic, validating domain models, and preventing injection vulnerabilities in any custom code. So when you apply these 5 principles consistently, you will give your application a resilient architecture from the start. So let's come to the next slide. So now let me get deeper once again into identity, because identity and access management is one of the most critical security topics on BTP. The sub-cloud identity service is built around 3 pillars we have here, you can see here. We have the authentication and single sign-on, which covers OpenID Connect and SAML.2, multi-factor authentication, corporate IDP federation, short-lived X509 tokens, which I recommend, and users authenticate once and access all sub-services securely. And then we have in the middle, we have the identity lifecycle, which covers centralized user provisioning via the sub-identity directory and sub-identity provisioning, which has automated on and offboarding and cross-system synchronization. So users always have the right access at the right time and no more. So when a user leaves the company, you can automatically revoke the access with the identity provisioning, deprovision the user from the solution and applications where you don't need them anymore. And authorizations on the right side covers authorization covers role-based and attribute-based access controls, like I said, and sub-authorizations management for BTP applications, and enforcement of segregation of duties, which is a key requirement for compliance in any application. So the recommended pattern is to use sub-cloud identity services as the single platform for all BTP SAP applications in your landscape. This not only BTP, for all applications. This gives you the one place to manage the users and one place to enforce policies, for example, password policies, and one place to audit the access to your solutions and applications in the SAP landscape. And the audit then goes into the audit log, and from there into your SIEM system. So when you plan the identity and access management early in the stage, in the design phase, That's essential because later it's more costly. So do it from the beginning. So the next thing in the deliver phase is the secure CI/CD pipeline. Moving from development to production is where many security gaps appear if you're not careful. The delivery phase is about operationalization security through the automation. So you make it what a difficult word, operationally through the automation. So the pipeline runs through 5 stages, which you can see here: the code, build, dev, pre-prod, and prod. So in the code stage, you run SAST, static application security testing, and dependency scanning to catch the vulnerabilities before they are built. And in the build stage, as you can read, there is automated testing and code coverage validation, which confirm that what you are shipping behaves as you expected. And in the dev stage, integration tests and authorization validation run against the deployed application. And in the pre-prod dust, dynamic application security testing and a full security review happen before the app is going to production. So, and in production, then the deployment is clean and the audit logging is enabled from the first request. Then you can watch it via the audit logging. So that's the CI/CD pipeline from a security perspective. And 2 additional practices are critical: secrets management. So never hardcode credentials. Use the sub-credential store we spoke about for all the passwords and certificates, and transport management. So use the cloud transport, sub-cloud transport management for the controlled and auditable promotions across your system landscape. So to have it controlled. With the sub continuous integration and delivery, that's the service that orchestrates all of this in BTP if you use it. Now let's come again to the security testing, which is not optional. I just talked about it in the CI/CD pipeline. It's a mandatory phase, part of the delivery phase. And let me walk through the 4 types once again. We have the SAST, the static application security testing, where you analyze your source code before deployment. It catches known vulnerability patterns like SQL injections, insecure deserialization, hard-coded credentials, and so on. Then we have DAST, the dynamic application security testing, which runs against the deployed application at runtime, while SAST looks at the coding. And this is against the application while it runs, and it simulates how an attacker would interact with the application and finds vulnerabilities that only appear when the application is running. Then we have penetration tests. They go a little bit further. The internal and external security experts at SAP actively attempt to exploit the applications, the application APIs, the web interfaces, the authentication flows. And these penetration tests should be run before the go live and periodically happen while in production. We do it like this once a year. And you also, as a customer, can do penetration tests for your sub-accounts or your applications, what you have done, developed. But you would need to inform SAP in advance because our cybersecurity center, which we have 24/7, they monitor all the traffic. And when you would do penetration tests against your sub-accounts, then they would think someone is attacking. So that's why you first have to inform SAP that you are planning to do a penetration test, and then you can do it so that they know, okay, that's only a penetration test then, and not an attack on the landscape. And then finally, we have the authorization end-to-end testing, which validates that role-based access controls work correctly. So this means testing every user scenario against every permission, not just the happy path, but also some paths which are usually not done. So all 4 types can be integrated in the CI/CD pipeline, as I showed before. Yeah, and that's a good part of doing it. Then we come finally to the run and scale phase. Once your application is live, security work continues. The run and scale phase is about maintaining security posture as the application grows. And SAP Cloud ILM is the central tool for this phase. So it's in the old days on premise we had the solution manager. Now in the cloud we have SAP Cloud ILM, and that's the central tool. SAP pushes the configuration status of your services directly to Cloud ALM, so you can monitor alignment with SAP security recommendations, for example, across your entire landscape in one place. As you know, we have security recommendations, which is part of the how we help you to configure everything securely, every service. And these recommendations, these controls are sent to Cloud LLM where you can monitor them. It's not all services yet at SAP, but it's continuously growing, and we try to get them all the controls into the Cloud LLM so that you can see exactly what are the settings for each service, and is it like recommended or is it different? And then there are some steps how to mitigate it and so on. This is the shared responsibility model from SAP. SAP publishes the recommendations, you assess which apply to your environment, and then apply the mitigations. And the service coverage we expand continuously. And on the operational side, 4 practices matter most. It's you see it on the right side. It's the runtime monitoring, means continuously detecting anomalies and unauthorized access attempts in real time. Then we have patch management, which means keeping dependencies and client apps updated regularly. Many breaches exploit known vulnerabilities. They have had patches available for months. So it's really a good task to early patch all the time. Then config hardening means running periodic security audits of your BTP configurations against the SAP recommendations. Are the configurations correct, like recommended, and so on. And data protection means securing all user-generated content and ensure privacy compliance. Particularly relevant if your app handles personal data. If not, it's not important. And I want to highlight one beta service we have, which is available in Europe currently and later in US this year, I guess, the application vulnerability report. So it's especially relevant for teams managing BTP applications in production. The core problem it solves is open source components are widely used in BTP applications. And when you write your application, a new custom application, then maybe you also use open source components in your applications, which for running the application. And new vulnerabilities are discovered in them constantly in these open source components. And as a customer, you are responsible for tracking and remediating those vulnerabilities. So without the right tooling, this is very hard to do. But with the application vulnerability report, addresses this with a multi-layered scanning approach. It combines commercial scanners like Trivi and OSV, which cover public known CVEs, with SAP-specific scanning that understands the BTP runtime context and SAP zero-day detection that catches vulnerabilities before they appear in commercial databases. And this combination of those gives you a coverage that you don't find somewhere else. And with the application vulnerability report, you get a comprehensive view of all open source vulnerabilities in your deployed BTP landscape. You can act on the criticality with mitigation recommendations, which are given in the tool, in the report you get from it, and you stay ahead with zero-day detections, and the unique scanner combination covers both rated and unrated vulnerabilities. So with this tooling, you can easily find out which open source vulnerabilities are present in your landscape. That's a really good tool. When you want more information about it, you have to reach out either to me or to Fabian Richter at sap.com. Fabian is the product owner of the application vulnerability report, and he's also happy to answer questions about it if you need more information. So on the roadmap, it's a beta currently. Now we also have, since this quarter, we also have a UI available, a cockpit in BTP. Before it was only APIs. And in Q4, the cloud ALM integration will follow. That means then you don't have to use the APIs and look at yourself the report. You can get the report in the cloud ALM integrated, so that you have this one view of the recommendations, of the security vulnerabilities, and so on. So now we have covered a lot of ground. Let me now bring together some key takeaways for you at the end. So 6 things I want you to take away from today's session. Sorry. The SAP BTP first. The SAP BTP adoption framework is your starting point. It provides proven, continuously updated guidance for architects, developers, and administrators, covering everything from reference architectures to security recommendations. Second, the SAP Developers Guide embeds security into every phase via the principle of one. Use it as your structured guide, and you will avoid the most common security gaps. And third, we talked about the threat modeling earlier. The OWASP-based is the one highest return of investment security activities you can do, because you shift left security, you do it really at the beginning of the development, and it's mandatory at SAP for a reason. So do it before you code and not afterwards. Fourth, we have the BTP security services like cloud identity, credential store, audit logging, malware scanning, and so on. And yeah, they are your compliance foundation. They are the pre-built, certified, designed for enterprise use. Just use them instead of writing your own audit log, for example. And fifth, Cloud ALM is your production security dashboard. BTP pushes configuration status to it automatically, so monitor it regularly. Use the Cloud ALM to monitor your landscape. And sixth, the new application vulnerability report gives you continuous open source vulnerability scanning for all deployed BTP apps. And API access is available, and also a cockpit now. And later on, you will find it also in the Cloud ALM. It's on the roadmap for this year, end of the year. So that's the 6 takeaways. And then here there are key resources from today's session. One, the SAP BTP developer guide and security recommendations. You can bookmark them, and the Cloud Identity Service documentation covers everything about identity provisioning and authorization. The SAP Trust Center is where you can get all the definitions and compliance details and legal terms. And this SAP Discovery Center is where you find hands-on missions, guided end-to-end tutorials for building secure BTP applications. And the credential store documentation is essential when you want to manage secrets in your application. And for the application vulnerability report, you can contact Fabian Richter or myself. And on the next slide, you will find a full set of clickable links to everything we have referenced today, including reference architectures, APIs, and so on. So yeah. So on column 1, you see platform and framework links, the adaptation framework, developer's guide, the security recommendation, plus the explore phase links, which are the secure development lifecycle documentation, the OWASP threat modeling builder, and the trust center. And then in the middle, you see the design phase, where the architecture center, 2 reference architecture I have linked here, which are interesting for you. You can look at them, like IAM integration and BTP, the Business Accelerator Hub, where you find all the APIs to all the security service and also all the other services we have. And the Cloud Identity Services API, separately linked here. It's also on the Business Accelerator Hub, where you can find all the APIs for integration with Cloud Identity Service. And on the right side, we have the DID CD service description, credential store, Cloud ALM, and hands-on missions. And here's a coding sample from GitHub, where you have some coding example from the developer guide, which you can reuse in the when you want to learn how to develop an application securely. So with this, that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you for your time and your attention today. I hope this gave you a clear and practical picture of how security works on BTP, from the platform architecture down to the individual services and development practices. And and the key message is I leave you with is security on BTP is not something you do at the end. The framework, the guide, the service are all designed so that if you follow the recommendation patterns, you can get a secure, compliant application as a natural output of your development process. So now I'm opening the floor for questions. Please use the chat or unmute what you like to discuss. Yeah, and maybe there are already some questions in the chat. I don't know, Boris.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Sorry for that. There are several questions. Thanks a lot for the great presentation, Jürgen. Let's directly start with the first ones, so we still have enough time. And kudos go to. Sorry.
May I quickly interrupt? Sorry. Just Jürgen, could you please unshare?
Yes, I can. Just a second.
Thank you. And also from my side, thank you so much for your very insightful walkthrough. And over to you, Boris.
Yeah, again, sorry. Again, kudos to Mahesh for breaking the ice here with the first question. So, Jürgen, when you presented the 5 principles for secure architecture, in which sense do these principles also apply for the SAP app router? Can you share something about that?
For the app router.
Yes.
So the app router is, to be honest, is not in my department. It's somewhere else. So
no worries. I mean,
the app router is a central component in BTP, and it routes the different traffic. And for example, when you have an application and then you want to authenticate, this goes through the app router to the XSUAA, the authorization component, and then forward. So I'm not sure what exactly is meant, the security part.
I mean, no problem. I mean, Maish, if you should have any further details, we can bring it up, or we can also take it with us and then try to provide an answer later on via chat, no problem. And I have to apologize to Marcel. Somehow here YouTube is playing games on me. I accidentally did delete your questions, but no worries. I have copied them over. So somehow that happened when I copied it over. But let's first go to the question from Artis Unda. Thanks a lot for the second question there. By when will we have the CSA checks for all BTP applications in Cloud ALM? So do we have a roadmap there for the corresponding integration, or do you know that?
There are no. There are, when you look at the Roadmap Explorer, no, they are not official. So there are all the services at SAP. They are asked to provide first the recommendations and then to provide the integration with Cloud ALM. But there's no official roadmap entries. I didn't see anyone in any roadmap entries in the Roadmap Explorer. No, I'm not. Maybe I have to go back to ask. The problem is always, as always, you have the possibility to integrate every service into the Cloud ILM, these configurations, the recommendations, but every service for himself has to do it. So there's no central governance on checking that every service is doing it and when it's doing. There's no central program, as I understand it. So it's up to the services when they do it. And if they don't put it on their roadmap, I don't know. An idea would be, if you are interested, when you have a specific, some services you use, and you are interested in these, let's say 10 services or whatever, because you use it when you develop your application, you want to have it, that you send it to us, and then we can ask the service owners what are their plans. So that would be a good approach.
Thanks a lot, Jürgen. Now coming to the questions from Marcel, and once again, a big apology that I have some technical problems there in YouTube with your questions. Please apologize here. But again, I have noted them down. So the first one was, Jürgen, you did outline the app vulnerability report there. And the question is, how does that differ from typical third-party offerings like, for example, SonarQube or other tools that do provide corresponding security sequence? I assume the background of the question might be that, customers might already have experience with those tools, and what additional value does here, especially the app vulnerability report, bring?
Yeah, as said, it's a combination of commercial scanners, which are done, which are checked, and SAP-specific scanning and zero-day scanning. And at the end, it's like this. It's a service which doesn't cost anything. And SAP is scanning all the coding, which we host on BTP. And the scanners, they find the vulnerabilities. And up to last year, we found all the vulnerabilities, but we only used the ones which are applicable to SAP services. And then usually it was an internal tool. It's internal tooling. So we informed our developers, here you have these and these open source vulnerabilities, please fix or mitigate somehow. Yeah, depending on the criticality, they had different times to solve this. And typically you update your open source component. But what we also did, we also scanned the custom code, which is deployed on BTP from our customers. So now, then we thought, why don't we offer it also to our customers, what we use internally? So now you can also use the same vulnerability scan solutions as SAP uses internally for your BTP applications to deploy. And that's the advantage. The results are there anyhow. We scan it anyhow because we use it as SAP as we develop software. And you can reuse it and it doesn't cost anything. Maybe that answers the question.
Thanks a lot. We also have a follow-up question from Marcel. Also, if there's an option to integrate an app vulnerability reporting also with the source code management systems, like if there might be any plans for the future, like, for example, that you can automatically create pull requests with version updates then of packages with security flaws or findings. Are there any ideas or thoughts into that direction as well, to have a direct integration of a vulnerability report into Git-based repos?
I'm not sure. No, I don't know. So we would have to ask Fabian Richter, but it's a good question. So
Okay.
we will take it and ask Fabian if there are any plans, and he can surely answer it.
Thanks, Jürgen. Thanks a lot. And yeah, but this was so kind to provide, I think, further details on the previous question there on integration with Cloud LM for the CSA checks. Or a statement, currently only cloud identity service is supported. Most major services are not supported. Yeah, I think just clarify that, but I think, yeah, we can take that to the colleagues, right? And then see if there is some kind of central roadmap for further services to be supported, I would assume. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see any further questions for the time being. With that, Tania, maybe I would take the opportunity to take a short outlook on the next session, maybe. Is that okay?
Absolutely, please.
Just sharing briefly. Yeah, let me just do just a sec. So that we have also slide on. Just do that. There we go. Sorry, my laptop. It looks like it's also too hot for my laptop. Sorry for the flaws there with the chat. Here we see the upcoming session. So that was the 4th session in our series. Thanks a lot again, Jürgen, for the great presentation and for covering the topic. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Sorry,
yes?
we're not seeing yet anything. You need to.
Oh.
Yeah, you started it, but it's
Share,
black.
okay.
I'm afraid.
Okay. Apologies for that. Yeah, it's also not responsive again. It's one of those days, right?
Yes,
you know,
it really.
Apologies for
it really
that.
is.
No worries. Let me see. Okay, if I can go back. Okay, yeah, sorry if it does not work. It also does not let me unshare. But I give it a try nevertheless.
Now you unshared already.
Okay, let me see if it's working now. Share. Does it come up now?
There is written, Boris Zaske hat die Bildschirmfreigabe gestartet. Doppelklicken Sie zum Wechsel in den Vollbildmodus. Whatever that means.
Yeah. For me, it does show the green arrow, but anyhow, it doesn't matter. The next session will be coming up on
now it works.
It just takes time, sorry. Yeah, on the 14th of July, we have the next session there with the Cloud Identity Services. They're taking a deeper look at, first of all, giving an overview for those of you who should not know it by heart, and then taking a look at the strategy and the roadmap. So also, I'm pretty sure also relevant for many of today's audience. And if there should be any further questions in the chat, then I would say I hand back over to you, Tania.
That's a perfect fit, because I guess the Cloud Identity Services overview strategy and roadmap is by my colleague, Marco Sommer, I assume. That's a good session. I recommend it.
Excellent.
Thank you for the endorsement. Okay, then a big thank you to all of you for joining us today. And of course to Jürgen for sharing all these valuable insights. So we hope you all got a lot of value from this session, and I hope to see you again next week. And with this, have a great evening, have a great day, depending on where you are, and see you hopefully next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.